from the various parishes. Clarendon, I see you coming in. God bless you. And we are in for a good treat tonight with some information on the Heart to Heart talk show. Safety is a matter no matter where you are in the world, no matter what season, and safety must be a preeminent consideration for our lives. So, even though it's entitled Safety at Christmas tonight, it's just general safety things, but during this season, especially in Jamaica, well, and anywhere, during Christmas, there seems to be an upswing in petty crimes, an upswing in, in stealing and all of that, because everybody get red eye when they realize Santa don't visit the ghetto anymore, or has never visited the ghetto. There has never been a Santa. Amen. So some people get red eye and then they start to go into people's homes and steal and do all kind of stuff. One of my favorite Christmas time movies, Home Alone. Just type Home Alone if that's one of your favorite as well. Nothing puts me in the Christmas mood like a Home Alone movie. And those three series show Andrew Barnett, welcome sir. I see you. Yes, Home Alone about theft, breaking and entering. Perhaps glorified in the show. I don't know, but in a very comical way. But it's a serious issue. The issue of safety, personal safety, especially online safety. All right, are folks hearing me, folks? Okay, yeah, folks are hearing me. So if you're not hearing me, please turn up your device.
Good evening. Evening.
Yes, Clausil, Clarke, welcome, sir. We're just doing the intro and we'll be ready for you in a short while. Sergeant Clausil Clarke.
That's
So,
it. Um,
I see folks agreeing with me in terms of their movie selection, Home Alone. And so tonight, safety, we want to look at safety in all the aspects, the returning residents, those of you who clear barrels, import stuff, persons who take chartered route taxis, robots. You shouldn't take robots though. Persons who walk on the road with your phone at your ears, oblivious, and then you cross the road, right? And then all kind of vehicle draw down beside you and you don't know what's happening. Those who are being stalked, persons who are self-employed who handle cash, on a daily basis, or you open up the store. Those of you who are shopping on Amazon and on Shein and all of these websites. My wife says I mustn't call out her website. She wants to keep it to herself. All of you are on wish.com, all right? Those of you with point of sale, those of you who use a public Wi-Fi, those of you who use social media to post a picture and tell everybody where you are, at what time, what school you're picking to go to, right? What time you drop her off, what time you pick her up. Those of you who post your exercise route, point A to point B, we're going to be talking to you tonight. And then the night is going to get good because Dr. Patroy Jones is going to teach us some Kung Fu moves. So we're going to learn some Bruce Lee stuff. And folks, already I see somebody inbox me and say, but all I need to do is plead the blood of Jesus, Brother Tyrrell. Um, but I say, the Bible says we are workers together with the Lord. So while you're pleading the blood, you can reinforce the discipline, remind and say, you're helping the Lord to reinforce. Jesus made a whip and overturned the tables in the temple. So, yes, but we can debate that another time. Um, so let me just welcome tonight Constable Osah Whyte. Let me welcome him tonight. He is one of the persons that has assisted me with coordinating this program tonight. He's an officer of the law. We want to welcome Sergeant Clausil Clarke, who will be dealing with safety and security tonight. We also want to welcome Mr. Lincoln Dennis, a lecturer, safety security specialist who's dealing with all the matters of risk assessment and safety in his own way. And also a little later, Dr. Patroy Jones, as I mentioned, will be joining us. So let me ask Sir O'Shea to come on in to the Zoom room of the Heart to Heart talk show, and he's going to join me and tell me, sir, what's happening out there now? What are you seeing in terms of, the Christmas season adding up or heating up
Good
rather?
good night, Mr. Morgan and everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Morgan, the Christmas season is booming already. You can, as a matter of fact, the first sign of things is that you feel the Christmas breeze. Then after that, you will see a large amount of traffic on the busy highways and
Hmm.
in the towns. So that will tell you that things are booming. And once you normally see this, the police start to change the direction of traffic in the towns, mainly turning the towns into one way, then you'll certainly realize that it's the Christmas season. And it's at this season, this point in time, when we probably call it the busiest time of the year, or that part of the year when we are always out there. Um, you're gonna find that for many of us who probably will be broke all year round, it's at this point in time that we have some money or some remittance coming in. Somebody just decide that they're gonna send a barrel from overseas for the entire family. All of that. Or we just decide to dress up and go out. We have grand markets. Normally, we have Christmas Day, we have Boxing Day, it leads on to New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. Gonna be a long holiday period. So safety is not just for the security forces; it's for everybody. You and I, whether you're Christian and saved, it doesn't matter. And tonight you'll be learning a lot. You'll be hearing some things that we take for granted. We'll realize that they're actually security red flags. And you mentioned earlier about even that message about saying that pleading the blood of Jesus. Well, while it's all good and done, and we know that Jesus is our ultimate security, it is very imperative of us to take measures to protect ourselves and to assist our situation as day-to-day operations go by. So tonight I ask you to pay attention, sit back, relax. You're gonna be learning a lot. Ladies, you're gonna be hearing a lot of things also as you go by from day to day. I see where many of us, even since week I was in Kingston, and I have been watching persons how they go about their day-to-day business, and it is just that some persons are not even paying attention to their surroundings. So, listen, be informed. We have some good presenters. We have Mr. Clausil, Clarke, Sergeant of Police, my dear friend. He was my trainer 8 years ago. So this means that he has a lot of service. Um, a very tactical man also, um, one who loves the Lord and one who is very much into the safety of all. And so tonight we'll be presenting on the safety tips tonight. We'll be giving us some things about how to be safe, how to remain safe, things to look out for, things to do and not to do. So um, back over to you, Mr. Morgan, as
Ye-
Mr. Clarke will present.
yes, sir. O'Shea, Constable O'Shea White. Sir, should we assume that with the pandemic, the less money in the island, assuming that there's less money, less activity, that we're really safer?
I doubt it.
Everybody talking about corona, nobody talk about the crime.
I strongly doubt it, Mr. Morgan. I believe, as I said, whether corona or no corona, this season persons are gonna be spending like crazy same way,
Yeah.
and everybody's gonna be enjoying themselves. I see Mr. Barnett's remittance is up daily, and yes, the money
Mr.
is coming.
Barnett, the Heart to Heart Talk Show is having a campaign, equipment upgraded campaign. So if your remittance is up, sir, please inbox me. Um, but yes, sir, O'Shea White, let's welcome Sergeant Clausil Clarke. Come on in the Zoom room, sir. Let's see you. Let's hear you.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for having me.
Let's see you,
Just
sir. Turn on that
see,
video. I don't
let's
know if you're
see.
practicing safety and hiding from us.
Oh God, let me just.
Yes, sir. I want to welcome the JCF tonight, members of
Right.
the JCF and academia, and we're welcoming Sergeant Clausil Clarke, who's going to be talking to us. The floor is all yours, sir, as we welcome you officially for the first time to the Heart to Heart Talk Show.
Okay. Good evening, on and all.
Yes, sir.
It is really a pleasure for me to share this evening with you on the topic of personal security. Seeing that we all have assets, doesn't matter what amount of asset that we have, somebody has interest in what we have. And so we might look on certain thing as being not so valuable, but somebody see it as being much more valuable. We can remember that man who was said to was about to commit suicide. He ate his last banana, and whilst he was in the tree, he threw down the skin and he saw somebody um, picking it up to eat it, and that is what caused him to change his mind and to make a hasty retreat from the tree. So it is a clear indication that it doesn't matter how little we think we have, somebody is eyeing even our garbage. All
Hmm.
right,
Yes, sir. Even our spouses, sir.
there we go, our
Girl.
most valuable assets. Right. And so, of course, when we talk about personal security, we must understand the foundation of our rights, right, to actually secure ourselves and secure our properties. Now, our right has been upheld by, of course, the Constitution of Jamaica, and in particular now we're dealing with the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom, and in particular Section 13(3)(a). It outlines that each person in Jamaica has the right to liberty, security of security of person, and the right not to be deprived of, except it is by the court, some action of the court that would cause you to be deprived of your property, right? And so that is where our right has been grounded in. Now, personal security is not anything that um, we can wish for and that it is just automatically achieved. It is something that we have to work towards, and it has to be done in a conscious manner. So therefore, we have to be security conscious. We have to be aware of our environment, our surroundings, and also pay attention to our modus operandi. So we have to pay attention to our environment, pay attention to threat cues, which is really the presence of the abnormal and the absence of the normal, and for us to take appropriate action. Now, it is important for us to remove um, possible um, attack if we can by actually um, moving the availability of our, our properties, so that someone will not necessarily see it and want to commit a crime, whether against us personally or trying to deprive us of our property. So here we have an equation: availability plus opportunity equal crime. And therefore, availability minus opportunity equals security. So it is saying to us that yes, we have our property, it is available to us, but we should try and limit the opportunity of, you know, would-be criminals to actually see them and to develop an interest in them. So, of course, we have to harden our targets. So, we have to refrain from volunteering personal information. A lot of us like to talk about what we have, what we are doing, what we did, what we eat, what we drink, especially on social media, we see these things. So, we have to be careful when we do these things. Leaving utility bills and house keys in vehicles, especially at the car wash. You know, people at the car wash, we might not necessarily know them. They clean up our vehicle and all of that. But and this is just one example, not limited to car wash, but other places that people can actually rummage through our vehicles, rummage through our documents, and ascertain a lot of information about how we exist. Of course, leaving appliance packaging on the outside, it tells people what is on the inside, highlighting the valuables that we have on the inside, and there we are creating an interest for somebody to actually go inside our house. Now, following these simple tips that we are going to be sharing further on, it can reduce the opportunity for becoming a victim of a crime. All right? As criminals constantly look around or survey the environment for an opportunity to commit crime. Now, criminal opportunities accomplished by a lack of witness. For especially those who are coming in the country in the holidays, not really in tune with what is happening locally. A lot of people might not travel for this period because of the COVID pandemic, but no doubt, I know that people will still be coming home to Jamaica. And so if you're listening, you know, it is important. Yes, people should know that you are in Jamaica, people who deserve to know. And you might be going around and you might not want certain people to know that you are here. But nevertheless, try to create some witness. So you might even arrange with somebody to pick you up at the airport. Try not to just allow one person to know that you are coming in the island, because we have seen in the most recent past where a lot of returning residents are actually robbed, and some of them were killed. And so it is important for us to have more than just one person knowing our whereabouts, you know, create a backup plan, creating witness. Criminals like when we are very secretive too, when we travel alone, we travel in dark places and so forth, that they can do what they want to do without anybody seeing. Don't make it easy for criminals to make you a victim. Be alert and aware of your environment. While you're walking, keep your mind on your surrounding. It's not good for you to be walking and to sometimes you're thinking so deep that you're not paying attention to your environment. A lot of people, again, will tend to walk out or wander and have their cell phone directing them. We have to be mindful that people might be watching us. All right. So it is important for one to display confidence. When people see that you're not so confident, and by this I mean that you behave timid, or you might be a soft person, then it might invite an attack upon you. And so whatever you're doing, try to display some amount of confidence. All right? So don't wear shoes or clothes that restrict your movement. You may have to run. And so we see people buying their clothes, especially the men, and take it up so tight. First time we used to say the women, but especially the men now. Take the clothes up so tight and probably not wearing it at the waist either. And so you might have to run, but you have cross-lined yourself and prevent yourself from escaping a potential attack. So be careful. Also, in relation to the shoes, as tacticians, sometimes when you speak, people think that it is limited to tacticians, but not necessarily so. You have to be careful of the time that you wear a slipper. Slippers or sandals, they may restrict your movements and you might have to run leaving them behind. And then now you end up with a barefoot on a hard surface, and that might also limit your ability to move quickly. Keep your hands free. So yes, you go to the supermarket or wherever and you buy a lot of things and you're carrying your bags in both hands. This makes you vulnerable unless you have a plan to use the bags or the contents thereof as a missile, which is possible. And so tactic is debatable, but ensure that you are not burdening down yourself with these bags in both hands so that you cannot deal with a possible attack. All right, so again, be careful of the texting and so forth whilst you are operating out there. This can draw your way into deep unconsciousness, not paying attention to your environment. A lot of time that we feel a gut feeling. Jamaicans know about gut feeling. It is right. Most of the time our gut tell us that something is wrong. If we follow it, we cannot be wrong. And so, of course, without not thinking about or not actively thinking about whatever is wrong in your environment, your senses will sometimes give you a nudge. And so at that point, you should start paying more attention to your environment and try to ascertain as much information as possible. And our cell phone can come in very handy in this. Sometimes you try to dial the police, and even if you did not get through to the police, don't just give up. You could, if you realize that you are being pursued, do a bluff. Do a bluff. And by this I mean that you can say, okay, Sergeant John Brown, Sergeant Clarke, I am being followed by this person, and if you can identify that person, even though you know, and only you would know that nobody's on the other end of the line, then you can do a bluff. Give out that identification, probably talk loud enough so that others, even in some distance, can hear the identification or identity of a would-be attacker. Ask for help. Don't assume that you're going to inconvenience somebody. And even if that is going to be the case, then you should take the opportunity to ask for help. You might get the help, you might not get the help, but at least try to call for assistance. So we are encouraging you to closely guard your personal effects. The theft of personal items such as purses can result in more criminal opportunity. Consider the documents that you would actually carry in your purse, separate and apart from money. Then would realize that they can give out a lot of information about us. So, stolen auto, remote entry key, keyring, all this allows thieves to easily identify our car and steal it. So, if it is that you have a remote for your car, try not to put any other identification on it so that somebody could easily identify your vehicle. Residential burglary, the driver's license, vehicle's registration, and other information will most likely have your home address, right? And so if you should have lost your documents for your vehicle, or your vehicle is stolen with these documents, we should realize that it is prudent that we report same as early as possible, because the criminal activity might not stop there with the vehicle or with the document, but they can also lead these criminals to your home. Now, parking your vehicle. Ensure that even if you're parking it during the day, if night is going to, or you suspect that night is going to catch you at a particular location, try to park the vehicle somewhere where it will be properly lit at night, right? And try to lock the vehicle, securely lock the vehicle before you leave, right? Check for uninvited passengers in your back seat before you actually get into the vehicle. Stay near people when you are operating, especially at night. Walking in deserted area invite trouble. And so if you can find company or other persons to walk with during the night period, then try to do that. Now, if you're going to be purchasing items, try to plan in advance. Try to plan before you purchase. So that means if it will require a certain amount of money, if you're using cash, then you will know how much to work with. And so at the end of the day, you don't end up with an excessive amount of cash that you're not spending. This can invite other unscrupulous activities to take place. So in terms of money, again, don't try to carry your money in one area. Don't try to carry your money in one area, as people may see and think that that is where all your monies are, and try to rob you. And just in case you're robbed, they might just take that amount from the area that they actually saw. If you have a purse, clutch your purse close to your body. Don't walk around with it loosely so that others can just run by, snatch it, and continue running. If you are carrying a wallet, carry it in the breast pocket or jacket pocket, or if you have to carry it in the pants, carry it in your front pocket, because it is very easy to snatch a wallet from back pocket. In fact, a lot of persons who would have reported that they were picked from the back pocket. So have your keys in hand before you reach your car or your home. Don't carry it in a big bag, and amongst other things, you're stirring up when you reach home that you cannot find it, and you spend this excessive length of time searching for it, holding your head down. If at any time though, because nobody's perfect, that you have to search for anything in your bag, hold the bag up in an area above the waistline, preferably up in the chest or in front of the face region. We call that the work zone, the working zone, so that you can look around using your peripheral to search a bag, but you are really looking around, so that if anything unscrupulous is about to take place, then you can see it before it actually happens. Now, if you're robbed, if the attacker has a weapon and only wants your money or possession, don't fight back, right? Your life is more important. And if you can run, run. He who runs away will live to fight another day. Try not to panic. Look at the attacker carefully so you can give a good description to the police. Immediately report the crime to the police, right? Your actions can help prevent others from becoming a victim. And so we have come to the end of our presentation surrounding personal security. And so at this time, I will be facilitating questions and trying to give you some answers.
Yes, powerful stuff, Sergeant Clausil Clarke of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, giving us the 411 on personal safety for both males and females, especially in a time as this, as Christmas. Pure red eye, officer, lots of red eye, everybody like the barrel coming off the wharf, and they're trailing that vehicle. A part of the tactical thing is if you feel or see headlights behind you, and let me ask you to comment on that. You know, for the women and for the men, how to get out of that and not create a movie scene. You know, some of us like the drama, but and we don't want to get paranoid. But let me ask my guests also to use their raise hand icons. Also on Facebook and YouTube, if you have your questions, just type them and I'll read them out as well. But go ahead, sir. Yes, that those headlights in the. How do you know it's a stalker? How do you know it's not just other folks?
All right, very good, very good question there. Um, now, when a person is being followed and your gut feeling sometimes give you that intuition that you are being followed, then you should try to do something to confirm that you are really being followed. Don't take it for granted that it is somebody has lost their way. Don't take it for granted. Assume the worst is about to happen. So you would probably, if there is a roundabout, try to go around the roundabout and see if this person is really following you. Say you are almost home. Don't stop. Don't stop at your home. Continue driving and to try to make a call, and to, if you can get any form of information about this person or this vehicle that is trying to pursue you, then try to pass it on. If you are close beside an area that has people, crowded area, try to go into that area. If you're close to a police station, drive straight to the police station. But don't try to stop and to interface with these persons, because they would have a plan. And that's a plan that you might not be aware of.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Um, and also, I would say to sir, for folks with vehicles, ensure that their gas tank is always at half
Mhm.
or near full, because if you're going to go on that merry-go-round with criminals behind you, you don't want to be seeing the E sign on a
Not at all.
dark, eh?
Not at all.
On a dark, lonely road. Um, and what about the bike men? I know in Jamaica we have had a lot of recent bike incidents where men drive down particular gangs, especially in the Mona area. So should we get paranoid when we see bikes? 'Cause we have a lot of messenger services here. How do we
Okay.
deal with that?
I would not necessarily use the term paranoid, but you are to be vigilant, because we would be aware that this is a choice of travel for criminals. Um, Easy access. A bike can go through small spaces and so forth to avoid capture of these persons. And so when you see them, if you have your window roll down, you're driving, try to roll up your window. You have your properties, try to secure your properties. And in fact, I will actually recommend that if you have valuables, that you put them in the trunk. Put them in the trunk of the vehicle. Um, don't uh, don't drive around with them, especially if the car is not tinted, so that people can just drive up the motorcycle to look, or without much effort, see the items in the vehicle.
Mm.
The trunk is a better place to carry your valuables.
Yeah, well, what if the bikes block you in? Because with one particular incident I saw on the camera, the motorcycles blocked the vehicle in, and she was just coming out of the garage. What do we do if they're
All
in
right.
front of you? Hmm.
Just remember that once you have clearly seen a manifested intent um, of threat. And threat is manifested by expressing or implying. So a person might say to you that they are going to do you harm, and they might tell you exactly what they are about to do. They might do something for you to come to honestly held belief that they want to hurt you. Then you do the next best thing to preserve your safety and security. That you also have a right to self-defense.
Mm. Well, with that particular incident, I saw the driver of the vehicle using the vehicle as a weapon, weaponizing the vehicle.
And that I will say in most situations, the first thing that you think of is a right action.
Uh, this man has been trained in the media, the art of media. He knows the media might be listening. Doesn't want to be quoted to tell you to Dr. Barrett. Dr. Barrett is on my program. Dr. Barrett said I must press the gas. That's why you must buy a good vehicle. You can press gas if you're driving a little Tata. You know those little Tata cars like a single person, like a little plastic car. You have to buy a strong vehicle with a chrome thing at the front there.
Push bar.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, officer. We will reach for you if you don't have to go. We'll reach for you again. We have some more presentations. Thank you, sir. Very useful tips
Thank
as
you.
we get in that safety awareness. So, Constable O'Shea White, are you still there, sir?
I am here, sir.
Yes, sir. What are your thoughts?
Very good presentation. I tell you, Mr. Clarke is one of the best, when it comes down to tactics and all of
Like,
that. So
yeah.
you get nothing short of perfection. Also, I just listening. One of the things that jumped out at me also was that when he said that walking with your keys as you prepare to go to your vehicle. So, for example, persons are in shopping centers. Um, let's say, for example, you went into a fast food place. You're getting something and you have a juice also. Do not wait until you reach the car, especially ladies with their handbags in one hand like this, and then they put the juice on the cart up and they're down in the bag, not
Mm-hmm.
watching their surrounding, looking for the key. Walk with your key in your hand. It gives you much easier access. Just in case you suspect anything. Also, leaving from the plazas, the business establishments, I would advise persons not just to just walk out of the building and you just turn left, turn right, or you're going straight out. Look around. Look around. Especially banks, when you withdraw your money, just don't step out through the bank door. You're just gone into the whole busy street like that. Observe your surrounding first. One of the things that I do whenever I go to the bank, especially when I withdraw money, is that I will take even a minute inside first. Then I'll take a next 30 or next 45 seconds at the door, looking outside, making sure there's nothing suspicious. Because many times persons are on their phone in the banks telling persons about persons who are withdrawing large sum of monies coming out. You can't
Yeah.
trust anyone in this time. You don't know who is working inside of these institutions who might be passing on information. Also, one final point about even in the banks is that many times persons are withdrawing money. So let's say, for example, 100,000. Um, you Most times the tellers normally use the money counter, right? You have access where you're seeing that they put in $100,000 bits, and you
Mm-hmm.
see the machine count it up. You don't need when you receive that cash. You don't need to stand at the counter counting one, two, three again. No, you know it's 100. You're withdrawing 20. Most times you'll see the teller they take out the money, they count it. Once it reaches 20, then they do a final count. You can stand there and watch the count also. So when you get your money, you sign your receipt, you receive your money, you put it in your bag, your pocket, your wallet, wherever it may be, you head
Mm.
off. So you don't need to count again to give persons an idea if you
Yeah.
draw a large sum of money.
And I find that our banks, credit unions, remittance services are not designed for privacy. Some of these remittance, and I find remittance to be more dangerous than even the bank. Because, I mean, I haven't gone to bank to withdraw money in a long time. But the remittance services, that's my problem now. Because some of these areas that they're located are so remote, or it's a situation where everybody's breathing down your neck, and it's very small, cramped spaces. Everybody hear your business, right? And everybody can see your business. And even though no phones are allowed there, quote unquote, sometimes the inside already know. They already know how much
Exactly.
you have. Yeah, so I find remittances to be troublesome. Let me read a comment here from Crystal Clayton. What I usually do if I know I'm going to shop, I walk around on the day that I have no money. I scout the stores that I want to shop. I see who has the best price, go directly to that store on the day that I intend on making my purchase, make my purchase, then go home. Crystal, you're every man's perfect wife. If all the wives could do that, strategic scout shop. But these women, Jamaican women, they don't do that. They walk up and down all day, all along Constant Spring, true or false, ladies. And you go to into every shop and every store and every arcade trying to find the best bargains with lots of money. All right, Dr. Barrett says that it's false, false, false. Okay. Yes, Miss Mitchell, they tell us they take no care in how they give the funds. That's true. They even call out the money. So, But Constable O'Shea, who's next?
Okay, at this point, we'll be
Oh,
looking
yes, before we
at
go next,
risk assessment.
all right, before we go, we have just one comment from Andrew Barnett. Let me just take this comment. Dr. Andrew Barnett. Let me call you doctor.
I'm not sure why, but evening, everyone.
Yes, sir.
What I want to find out from the police officer, it is often encouraged that folks, if you know you'll be traveling with large sums of cash, that where possible, you try and get police escort. What's the procedure for that? Do you call in advance, or you at the bank? You just call the station and say, okay, I'm at the bank, I need to go X place. Can you supply officer? How does the procedure works?
Okay, in relation to that, um, you want to be able to find, um, especially the, the sub officer that is in charge of the station, so that if that person cannot do you that service, then they can assign somebody to offer that type of service. And one of the main reason behind um, speaking with the sub officer in charge of the station is that it creates a method of accountability, right? So an individual officer would know that he has a responsibility and a duty to you, because to be frank with you, there are allegations from time to time that is made against individual members of the force. But um, when you have a method of accountability, then one will understand that it is not just one individual, and that it is something that is recorded.
Okay. Satisfied, sir? Yes. Okay. All right. Sir Clark, if you're going to stay with us, I'm going to ask you to ponder a question. If we have modern Robin Hoods in the Jamaican society, I want you to comment on that one a little later. But I believe who else we have? We have this lecturer. Is it lecturer? Lincoln Dennis, right? Constable Shea?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we have Mr. Dennis. He's a lecturer. He's good. He's a very good lecturer. He is one of my lecturers. He taught me in crime and safety and security management. Um, Very good facilitator. And so at this moment, oh, and he's also a pastor, and we were having a good talk since night. But nevertheless, it's a small world. He'll be dealing with risk assessment and giving us a touch on cybersecurity. So for those who love to use their credit card, all of that, use to online banking, those things. He'll be giving us a few tips, and he'll be explaining to us what we mean by risk assessment and that stuff. So we just sit back, relax, and listen to Mr. Dennis.
Yes, Pastor Dennis, welcome, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yes, sir,
I
welcome.
just told him that I'm a pastor because I don't tell my students that I'm a pastor.
Now the whole world knows on the Heart to Heart talk show.
Yes.
Sir, sir, when somebody saw the topic earlier and they said, isn't the blood sufficient? And I responded to say, do we have burglar bars on our homes as Christian? Do we have car alarms as Christian? Some of us have bad dogs. Some of us feed the bad dog ganja and make him bad, you
And,
know?
and when you hear that, I know that from a year you said the blood is sufficient. I know you're apostolics.
Yes,
I
sir.
know those words very well, but remember the scripture said Abner died as a fool. So,
Okay,
yes, my
sir.
name is Lincoln Dennis. Full-time I work with the Ministry of Justice. I am the victim service officer for St. Mary's, so I know that after Christmas I'll be counting a lot of these people
Oh boy.
who have been victims over the holiday. And I have been doing that for 14 and a half years. Beside, I also pastor the Emmanuel Apostolic Church in Money. So my hand is full. I am always busy. But I would advise you that next time when you have these presentations, you let the weaker ones like me go first. Because Mr. Clarke was excellent, and I do not know why did you guys do that to me. You put me in a very hard spot now. Good job, Mr. Clarke. I can see that you're a good lecturer, and basically you know your stuff. Now, when we talk about risk management, it is always important for us to assess our surroundings. We need to know who is around us. We need to know who do we share information with. We need to understand that it is not everybody you are going to let know your secret. In the area that I live, there is two machines. I normally use the one at the JDF soldier camp because that is more secure. It is going to be unlikely for anybody to try to rob you there. I mark you, I will have to pass another one which is very close to my house, but I rather to go the further journey. You have to assess the risk. And not only that, that machine is the first machine I've seen them breaking so often, so it tells me that I don't need to use it. It is very important in assessing the risk we avoid certain things. Um, People do not need to know what you buy. And as you stated before with shopping, shopping since COVID has been one of the biggest things. And I find myself too, maybe I need some deliverance because I'm getting addicted to the online shopping these last days.
Thanks to
But
the wives.
so every time I say I'm not going to buy anything else, I realize I am buying something else. But we have to be careful when we collect these packages. How do we dispose of the empty packages? Um, who knows that we are going to collect these packages, because sometimes it is not that your friend mean you any harm, but you tell your friend something and the friend tell another friend and somebody hear it, and then you turn out now to be a target. So you'll have to understand that. You'll have to assess your surroundings. When you go in your vehicle, you make sure you look around. You have to um, try to find out if there is anybody hiding around here. You have to decide, where do you want to shop? Do you want to shop in a lonely area? Do you want to carry a lot of cash around to do certain businesses? You'll have to assess all of those risks. And the question is, what am I going to buy? Do I really need it? Because some of the times it is not need. It is just that we believe that we must buy this for the season, and it is not really a need. So we have to think about those things. As it comes to bank machine, you have to be careful how you share your PIN numbers with others. And some people really do that. Some people will collect the cash and then they go outside to check it. And whether you check the cash outside or inside, you definitely have to remember that there is nothing you can do if you did not, at that point, if you did not get the right amount of money. So might as well you wait until you go home to basically check your cash. Um, you have to make sure that the place that you are doing business, and I don't, most of us won't be doing business in the night, but if you are doing business in the night, we have to make sure that the place is well lit. And if the place is well lit, therefore, it is easier to identify somebody, even our house too, in assessing the risk. We definitely have to make sure light is around our house, because you don't want to know that because you went out to buy something today, somebody would come in your house and rob it. I remember about 10 years ago, my grandfather died and I was planning a funeral. They came right in the house. I was sleeping, didn't even realize until the next morning. But the only thing I had then was a check in my wallet, so they did not get anything. So you would definitely would have to make people, don't let people believe you have money around. Because if I don't have to use cash, I don't use cash. And the good thing this pandemic has done, it has put us at a place where some of the places, I don't pay my bills over the counter anymore since this pandemic. I do it online. And people will tell you that online is still not safe. The difference with online is that if somebody steal your money, the bank will give you back. If somebody steal your money on the road, you have nowhere to get it back. So we'll have to look at those things. You have to identify your assets, identify where you are and how am I going to deal with it. And after you identify, you make an assessment. Does it make sense I do this transaction? Does it make sense I do this transaction in this way? Does it make sense I do this transaction now instead of doing it at another time? And when you are doing these transactions, let us say we are shopping from people that is walking around, and sometimes that happens. Be careful of the information that we share with them. And if you continue to shop from this person, every time they come around, they will know that you have money in your house, and therefore you sometimes turn out to be a target. So assess our surroundings, assess what we do. You will have to decide on if this is the best way, how am I going to do it? And as the speaker before says, do not come out of the vehicle and search for the key. Make sure you have your key in hand before time. And make sure you do not leave your keys outside, because sometimes we do make that mistakes and we leave the key outside and anybody can come in the house and do what they want to do. In assessing the risk in evening using cards, there is, most of us might know that people are cloning some of the cards now. So it is very important that after you use your card, make sure you check. Make sure you have a fair idea of where you use that card during the day, that if anybody clone your card and use it, you will know where this happened in order for this person to be dealt with. So as we go in the festive season, we know it's a difficult time. We know it's a time. And I heard on the radio this morning, remittance is up, whether we want to accept it or not. And people want the easier way out. And what we will have to do, we will have to protect the little that we have. And we have to make sure that we assess the risk, make a decision. Am I going to do this? Am I going to shop here? Am I going to shop later? Or what way will I do this? Do I need to use a card? Do I need to use a check? And we know check will soon be obsolete. But we definitely have to use the safest way that we all can be protected. So as we go in this season, it is very important that we try to prevent. Prevention is the best cure. And the only way we are going to prevent is to assess those risks and we have to make sure that we make decisions and decisions that will definitely keep us safe. Okay, colleagues, that's basically my little bit.
Yes. Sir Dennis, you mentioned your work in the victim support unit. What are some of the cases that would come across your desk maybe by the end of this month into early January?
All
And,
right.
and
I work at the victim support unit, and as you know, most places in the government is woefully understaffed. After the holidays, I know that we are going to deal with a lot of robberies. Yes, we are going to deal with a lot of house break-ins. Um, but most of the cases we deal with are the sexual cases.
mm,
And after this time, you're going to have a lot of rape case. You're going to have a lot of sex with children under 16, and the list goes on. But you will realize that most of the people who get robbed, sometimes they say they don't want any counseling, they are fine. But after this season, you will always have an uptick in those type of person coming for counseling.
all right. All right. So we have a question in the chat, but before we get there, I want you to talk to that lady who is a potential rape victim. Help her in terms of situational awareness. What are the typical cases for rape? Is it really people that they're familiar with? Is it a car? Is it a house? Is it being dragged into the bush? Give them some situational awareness tips to bring them up and to prevent.
Most of the case I deal with are people who the people know. As a matter of fact, these are people of trust. And I would advise people be careful who you let in your home, be careful who you leave your children with. And most of the case, I can tell you, most of the case are people who you are close to, the parents is close to. So you have to be careful. It is very few cases I deal with where somebody just break in the house and rape the person. Very few cases. Most of the cases are person well known to the victim. So you cannot be too careful. And no matter what you continue to tell people, you cannot be too careful. Be careful be careful how you lead on a person. Be careful how you invite a person home when you alone is there. And if you even like this person, make sure you go to public places where you can sit down and you can have a talk. Be careful also of people on WhatsApp now. People, the new thing now, people just put it on WhatsApp. I'm lonely, I want a friend. That's a new thing. And then people start to text and then they invite you here. And at the end of the day, you get raped. But most time the males do this with a female because they are recognizing now female is not going to just come like this. But when they say, look here, this is my friend, this is my real girlfriend, I'm not going to do you anything. And sometimes that female lure that person. So if you don't know the person, don't talk to the person on Facebook or on WhatsApp and all of those things. Most time they are trying to find somebody to victimize.
Yes, I remember one particular case in the Christian circles. A church sister of ours, the daughter was lured on Facebook, inbox and befriended, and they led to a particular location, and she was beheaded when they found her through Facebook. We're in a virtual space now. People are getting married on Facebook. I mean, dating on Facebook. I mean, it's a whole, connection that's happening. But sir, for the victim who, God forbid, is about to be raped, um, what can she do apart from screaming, making noise? What are some of the practical things they can?
That one is kind of tough. It depends on the situation you are in. I know that some people fight for their life and fight to the end. I know that some people kick men in that place, you know where.
Mm-hmm.
And I even have a case where the lady bite the man on it and he have to end up in the hospital. That's how the police catch him.
Mm,
So when people is in trouble, they do all sort of things. And sometimes when they hear these cases, you definitely want to laugh, but you know that you can't laugh because you wonder how this woman could be so brave. It is always important to fight.
Yeah.
And you like
Mr.
to,
Morgan,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
Constable.
not to, yes, I know problem Mr. Dennis won't be running as yet. Dr. Jones has some technical difficulties,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
want to get him on now.
Yes,
He can come on now. So
yes.
let us just take Dr. Jones and then, as I have two questions for Dr. Dennis, Mr. Dennis
Okay.
afterwards.
All right. Great, great. Thank you,
okay, no
Dr. Dennis.
problem.
Hopefully you can stay with us. I see somebody inboxing already that males can be raped as well. So we're gonna talk about that. I don't know if it's a Jamaican male, but you know. Oh boy. Dr. Jones, the Bruce Lee of Pentecost. Dr. Patroy Jones.
Elder, greetings.
Greetings, sir. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Yes, sir. Your task tonight is to convince the church that they can add a few moves, apart from the Holy
Okay.
Ghost moves, to the criminal elements.
I hope my bishop doesn't defrock me tonight. But I guess he's in our next forum.
Oh, Lord. I'll
All
take
right.
it on with him. He always gives me trouble, so
All
go
right.
ahead.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. It's good to be on. Thank you, Elder Morgan, and my good friend, my brother, actually, um, Constable Whyte,
Yes,
and
sir.
my good friend, my brother, and my tactical trainer was on earlier. His Eminence Sergeant Clarke, and Barry, you get your new uniform, man. Looking good. And also, um, Sir Dennis, an outstanding lecturer at my alma mater. So, good night, everyone. It's we want to talk a little tonight about an element of self-defense, which is martial arts. I'm going to be very short and to the point. My demonstrator is not with me tonight, so I have to try to see how much I can sort that out. But all right, baby. But
That
let's.
could not be the demonstrator.
You'll be surprised sometimes.
Okay,
All
sir.
right, but Elder Morgan, just to say, sir, this is a kind of taboo subject in Pentecost, especially for us coming from a conservative Pentecostal background. Um, Self-defense, and more so by way of martial arts, is not something that we normally talk much about in a positive sense, even though we have evolved in some sense. But sir, if you may, could you please allow me to share my screen?
Yes, I've made you co-host. You can go
All
ahead.
right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Everyone seen my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we want to
Just put it in
provide
full screen mode. Press F5 and we're good.
F5. All right. Just bear with me a little. All right. How are we looking now?
Looking good.
Awesome. All right. So we want to basically give a little empowerment tonight as it relates to self-defense, more so from a martial arts perspective. Now, when we talk about self-defense, and I notice that my tactical trainer would have touched some amount of personal safety, which is also an element of self-defense. But just to break the ground by saying that self-defense is technically a biblical and a constitutional principle. And the first place I did self-defense, both the practical and the theory was at a church. You'd be surprised to see the ladies kicking the men in some very sensitive areas. But in Luke 22, verse 36, we can take some cues from that as a text that points to the importance of self-defense. And also one of my favorites in the good book, Psalms 144 and verse 1 of David, praise be the Lord, my rock. who trains my hands for war and my fingers to battle. David was not telling us that we should go out there and create chaos in the society by being violent and attacking people, but he was affirming that he has the right to protect himself, to preserve his life. And from a constitutional perspective, according to the Constitution of the land in 1962, that talks about the fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in Chapter 3 of the Constitution. It speaks about the right to life. This section provides that no person shall intentionally be deprived of life, save in execution of sentence of a court in respect of a criminal offense. And I'm sure that Sir Clarke can speak even more on that constitutional act. When it comes to self-defense in the world of martial arts, we normally talk about the reaction reality that points to the fight or flight response. So normally when the body is under some element of stress, when there is imminent threat to life, the body goes into the mode of flight or fight. And I will be the first one to say, in spite of my martial arts tactical background, I'm going to be the first to declare tonight that it is always best for you to avoid the fight and to flee. But there will be situations where, you know, your life flash in front of you and you just have to fight your way out. There are certain skill set that will help you to survive those perilous situations. So from flight to flight, fight to flight. Now, the form of martial arts that I was exposed to talks about the 10 principles of jiu-jitsu. And the first principle is balance. If you're going to be able to defend yourself in an appropriate way, you have to first think about the importance of balance. You're flat-footed, you're on your toes, you're on your heel. What causes you to be in a state of imbalance and makes you way more vulnerable? So balance is critical. Mobility and stability. You have to move and you have to be flexible to move. And I'm going to point out why that part is so critical. Avoid head-on collision of forces because a strike to the head may render you unconscious. And if you're unconscious, you are basically a sitting duck. You're not able to defend yourself appropriately. Mental resistance and distraction, and I'll get back to that later. Focus on the small points. There are some very sensitive areas of the body. In martial arts, we call them pressure points, like the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and certain parts of the head, behind the ear, the neck. Once a certain amount of pressure is exerted in that area, you can get the person to go into surrender mode or submission mode. Energy transfer. Somebody strike at you and you're deflecting and then transferring that energy. And I'm not talking about magic here. I'm talking about certain not that one, Elder. Create a base, sticking and control point of sensitivity, which speaks about this pressure point zones. Rotational movement, you have to be on the move, using the flow of momentum to your advantage. Transitional flow, you have to change your technique, your tactics, and your strategy. The 5 Ds of self-defense in relation to jiu-jitsu martial arts, we talk about distraction, we talk about deflection, we talk about domination, we talk about disarm and disable. So distract is basically you disrupting the focus of the person. A case in point, a friend of mine, he came under attack. He was looking down the barrel of a gun and he used his wallet as a distractor. So he removed his wallet from his pocket, he threw it on the ground, and so his attacker, the perpetrator, was now focusing on the wallet, his valuables, and not so much on him. He was the target, he was the victim, but he used the principle of distraction to survive that moment. Deflection, somebody punch at you. And how do you use martial arts techniques to deflect? That's what we're basically saying. So always avoid a hit. As I said before, a hit at certain areas of the body can render you unconscious, and you want to prevent that. You want to be conscious that in the event you have to fight your way out. You're sober minded. Disarm. If you have that skill set where you're under attack by any offensive weapon, it could be a bat, it could be a stone, it could be a gun, it could be a knife. With certain techniques, you can disarm the perpetrator. And in martial arts, we call it stripping, because you're removing the lethal weapon from the perpetrator. And disable. This is basically enforcing full submission by using certain techniques, getting the person into a state of submission and removing the will to fight from the person. Now, techniques and tactics, these are very important. But before I go into some basic techniques, and should be done in 3 minutes, it's very important, even when you have the skill set to that of an expert, which I'm way far from, but I'm just stressing. My martial arts teacher, he has, he's at the rank of an 8th degree black belt. And I remember him saying, Jones, it is the greatest self-defense weapon you have. It's not a gun, not a knife, no lethal weapon, period. Is your brain. And you have to use it skillfully. And here comes situational awareness, Elder. You have to know your area. You have to know your surrounding. I've made up on the road all the while and see people just walk blindly, just going through the motions. You have people stalking people and they don't even realize, right to them house. No, we have to practice good situational awareness, environmental awareness. If you're walking somewhere and you see an animal behaving a particular way, it means that there's some disturbances in the environment. We don't take it lightly. We don't walk blindly into situations. And risk assessment. Wherever you're going, even if you are a 100 million degree black belt and a master tactician, you have to practice some amount of risk management. You have to do an assessment of the risk in the area you're going. You have to ask yourself whether or not you have the skill set to counter a certain attack. And so basic techniques that I want to touch on quickly: finger lock technique, which is basically manipulating the wrist and the fingers. You know, your hand can only function and your joints can function a certain way. By you bending it in the opposite way, you are using what we call finger lock technique. All right. Leg bar, arm bar, sweeping. You know, somebody's standing and the person is off balance. You can use a sweeping technique to get them down. A very, I don't want to say deadly, but a very efficient technique is a jab to the solar plexus, which is an area, the abdominal part of your body. There's a lot of nerve in that area. It's very sensitive. And so with a punch with some efficiency, you can get the person into surrender mode. Projecting confidence. Sir Clarke spoke about it earlier. The importance is you don't want to come across as somebody who is timid, who is a weak fence, and somebody easy to hop onto. You're not using force. You're not showing force. You are projecting confidence. You want your attacker to think twice. No, man, him not look so feeble and weak at all. I'm going to leave him today. Not my day. So we need to project confidence, you know, giving the impression that if you're so attacked, you will be able to defend yourself appropriately. Always utilize the element of surprise and use up the pressure points. So these are some quick techniques. I just have 4. Blocking, you know, somebody kicking at you, you put your hand in this stance to block the kick, or if it is a punch, you know. A next technique is the palm strike. takes a person off balance. Another technique is armbar technique that you can use to get the person into surrender mode. You're not being violent, you're not being brutal, you're being attacked, and you want to use certain skill set to have the advantage to survive and go home to your family. Finger lock technique, I spoke about that. It is adding pressure to some very sensitive areas of your body. Chokehold, this is not to suffocate the individual, but a chokehold is basically reducing the oxygen flow to the brain, and based on the discomfort, it is likely to put the person into surrender mode. Thank you so much, Elder. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you
Yes.
for having
Yeah,
me.
one question before you go. We know you have another commitment. Somebody's asking, where's the solar plexus?
The solar plexus is that part of your abdominal, which is a little below your chest and above your navel.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Patroy Jones. We know you have another commitment, so you may have to leave us. But it's a powerful series of presentations tonight. Folks, please store these, especially if you're an usher in a Pentecostal or any church. You need to learn this because in America, they had some incidents where, persons entered the church. Also in the schools, shooting and all of that, even though it's a virtual world now, but when the place opened back, there are very dangerous folks who have no respect for church, respect for police, respect for nobody, and they're just entering in. And why are we doing this? If the Lord will defend us and all of that, because the Bible says not all men have faith. So the criminals you're finding now, they have no respect, no fear for the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. So, um, but we have Sir Dennis. We had some questions. Are you seeing men being raped? Are you there, sir?
I male or female?
Talk to us. Are you seeing that?
Yes. Men are being raped, but mostly at gunpoint.
In Jamaica?
The other male is concerned.
In Jamaica, sir?
Yes, it does happen in Jamaica.
At certain journalist is promised to watch the show tonight, sir.
Yes, man. It
Uh,
happened in
sh-
Jamaica.
sh-
It might not be a regular thing,
mhm.
but it happened in Jamaica.
But
And, and even
let me.
as far as oral sex too.
Oh Lord, let me pull in Sergeant Clarke. So we said earlier that if a woman is being raped by a man, she kick him basically in the seed, the testicles. Yeah, we could call it on the show, because the show calls out things and we don't hide things, because we have lots of adults who listen. In fact, more people watch the replay than they actually join the show sometimes. So, but for the man being raped by the woman and he's not a willing party, right?
Man, being raped.
Yes. How tactically, how does he deal with that? What are some of the things leading up? I assume he's drugged or kidnapped. I don't
Leading
know.
up there.
Huh?
Well, I think that he can take some training from Joseph. Run.
Run.
To,
Okay.
to run.
Mm.
But in truth and in fact, that whilst we don't refer to it as rape, a man can be sexually assaulted, of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, by a female. And we know that there are implements that can be used um, to penetrate a man. But again, we don't call it rape. It would be referred
Mm.
to as buggery,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Grievous sexual assault, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
what we refer to it as. So a man can be really assaulted, but it is just the political term
Yeah.
attached to it.
So in the United States, I know they have the Molly drug. They call it Molly, which most persons would also call the date rape drug. And I understand there are various things like that in Jamaica that people are using to get their victims. Can you comment on that, gentlemen? Anybody about that happening, and how do we guard against that going in our drinks, or guard against it entering our body in some mischievous way?
All right. In terms of the in terms of the sexual offenses act, of course, people can be drugged, people can be tricked, people can be defrauded into or coerced against their will into taking part in sexual acts. And so at the end of the day, it can be summed up, or it can be attributed to rape, or to buggery, or having sex with a minor. So people can be led into into the position. You know, people can be drugged and have them you know compromised.
So what do I do situationally? Being situationally aware. Anybody want to come in? What do you do to prevent such a thing?
Of course, you have to be careful um, to observe to observe by people's action. Sometimes they express their intention. Sometimes they imply their action, their intention. Sorry, and so you don't want to receive certain drinks or so from a person that you're going to drink something from them. They are not necessarily your friends. Um, in terms of receiving certain things like kerchief, or nowadays they have the mask that is being given out to people with some form of drugs or so that will prevent cause the person to lose consciousness.
Oh, that's happening now. That's a latest strategy.
Yes, that's a very recent strategy. People actually give out mass. Um, in fact, there was an incident as well where where people were given some key rings, which were really trackers.
In
Yeah,
Jamaica.
in Jamaica,
Okay then. This
right?
thing has
So,
gotten very sophisticated.
of course,
Is it that they're giving it out, or they're selling it at cheap
they
rates? Or?
they were giving it out. You know, they were gifts. They were souvenirs, but they were really trackers.
Wow. So, um, what do we do? Cause we love free things, especially at Christmas now, and it's a pretty. I'm sure these are pretty things. These are not ugly key rings. Constable O'Shea is coming in. Talk to
Elder,
us. uh
Elder.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if I may, sir. Based on what I've heard so far about the date rape drug,
hmm
um, it's generally it's generally placed in drinks or liquid for consumption. So whether it's going to be water or it's going to be some alcoholic beverage of the sort. And so what I always encourage my students to do, if you're going out even to a social event, avoid taking drinks from people. Um, as Sergeant Clarke would have mentioned before, sometimes there's a gut feeling of discomfort that there's something not right about this. Or put yourself in a position where you can see where the drinks is coming from and how it was handled, where you may pick up some form of red flag or hanky panky
Mm.
undergoing, or you go directly and request your drink under control situation where you basically see what is done. And if you feel uncomfortable about it,
Yeah.
avoid it completely. Know the area, know the surrounding. Have an idea of the type of persons who are going to be there. Are these people of questionable behavior and practices that should send an alarm or a red flag? So it's also a part of risk management. You do a risk assessment. Is it worth going to that event, even though I really want to go and my friend them? What are the risks that may be involved?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
But a significant part of my audience are from North America, so they're listening also. And I know with their culture that they have group parties. With these parties, frat parties, they spike the drink. So everybody in the house is at a certain level, and then they have rooms that the men pull the women to, and they have their way with them, or vice versa, as well. So I think I just not going to some of these parties is the way to go. Abstinence, you know.
prevention is better than cure, Elder. If you know that these places parties are notorious for that sort of activity, then for your best interest, don't go, don't
Just don't
participate.
go.
Or if you
Yeah.
do go, you don't have to drink anything, you don't have to consume anything.
No, sir.
Take your own water.
At my company, one time they were having this little get together, and they say, man must hold him drinks. Yeah, man. They ask, they question your male identity by your drinking of the Red Stripe, the Hennessy. 'Cause Hennessy is very expensive for one. How much? Over $2,000 for one shot. I won't ask the church brothers how much for it, but Hennessy is very expensive. So when a man at a drink, or a woman at a dance is offering you a glass of Hennessy, and put a little thing in there, you know, you're
Um,
going down a slippery slope.
peer
But
pressure.
yeah, man, peer pressure. Yes, I'm intrigued, though, Officer Clarke, by the fact that people are using trackers and handing it out as gifts. Is that a news item? Has that been in the news?
Of course, it made the news, but if it's not earlier this week, it was sometime last week.
Mm. How do we know though
It's on
that the
social
one?
media, It's on the social media platforms,
Okay.
actually being sent around.
Yeah.
Actually from about last month, I think.
Mm.
Um, as I think there were some persons at Harborview, thereabout. They were giving out some, and it hit social media from that point.
So how do I
Um,
know that the one that I have now is not a tracker?
well, well, the ones that are being given out are, well, probably you would have bought your keyring from a reputable place, but I'm saying those keyrings were some that were being given out by persons. Normally, Kingston areas, some areas you'll find persons just randomly giving away some things. It's not a company based promotion, where you see, for example, a reputable company out there handing out items, or they are doing a promotion. You're just seeing a person on the roadside saying that they have this giving away. You just have to be very careful. As we were on the topics of persons being drugged, where I come from, Jones would have had would have been knowledgeable of this, and maybe Clarke to an extent because he's from St. Elizabeth. But when you look, first time growing up, we hear about men using kerchiefs with things that that they're at a party, and they wave the kerchief in front of females. This kerchief would have having drugs in it, would have drugged the female, turn up their hormone levels and all of that, and they would have not been at a state of full consciousness of what they're doing. So there are things that you have to look for those who drink. As Jones touched on the points, be very careful how you take drinks. One very important thing that I realized about persons who drink also is that they have their glasses. Ladies, men, if you're at a table, for example, You just leave your drink and you're gone to the bathroom, or you're gone somewhere, you turn your back, then you come back, you take up your glass again and you start drinking. You left your thing unattended to, right? This is an easy way for persons to slip things into your drink. So you have to be very, very careful. Um, as you mentioned also, Tyrell, about persons being offered a drink and being forced to drink, be very careful. If you do consume alcohol and you know that you can only manage 2 beers, don't go over the two, because many times this is an app. And we talk about friendship, accepting things. There are many persons who are friends who have led, their other friends down the road to destruction, because sometimes you don't know who these persons are linked in with and who are their friends. Um, One very popular case, because sometimes we watch movies and we think that these movies are not real life based situations. Just like for those who are movie heads like myself, I think it's Rambo 4. It's a Rambo 4, I think. It shows where a female went to look for an ex-friend. The friend, they were at the bar drinking. She was drugged. She was taken away, and all of that. So you have to just be very careful.
Yes, valuable information. Sir Clarke had asked earlier if we are seeing in Jamaica Robin Hoods. Are we seeing men robbing the rich and the upper class to feed the poor, especially at this time of pandemic?
Well, of course, we see where scamming has become a thing in Jamaica. Um, of course, it was at its height a few years ago, but because of the massive extradition and prosecution of these persons, then there is actually a dip in these activities. Nevertheless, it is still happening, and these persons does not necessarily rob to or try to fleece persons of their money to give to smaller people in society, or the vulnerable in society, but actually for selfish gain. What they do though is to try to buy support from people, from the vulnerable persons in society, to give them a little and to try to win them over to perpetuate what they're doing. So it's not necessarily Robin Hood, as we would like to say, but it
Hmm.
is actually a selfish act. To,
Yes. So,
yeah,
but even finally, while we're on this topic of safety, there are some communities that protect criminality. We saw the recent incident in the news where a particular community protected a criminal and allowed him to escape while the police was trying to do their duty. What would you say to a community that's protecting criminality?
okay, first and foremost, it is actually a criminal act to prevent the police or obstruct the police from carrying out their lawful duties. But the thing about it is that protecting criminals, um, it's actually um, setting up ourselves for these persons to turn on us, because these people, they are not necessarily for the community, but they are really selfish individuals who tend to hide themselves in this community and give the community a bad name, in general. And so from time to time, even with people seeking employment from these communities, in a wider sense, people doesn't want um, to employ people from this community because of the name that has been developed over a period of time by these selfish individuals from these communities.
Yes. Okay, I missed a question in chat. How do we treat with business establishments where the cashiers are concealed fully or partially, and you have to give them your card.
Well, in terms of treating with your card, that you debit on your credit card, they should not necessarily be leaving your hands. That is the truth about your bank card, right? You should see what your card is being placed into. You should actually place your card in that machine, and to remove it, it should not necessarily be placed in somebody's hand, but it's just a practice. It is just a practice that has been entertained for a period of time.
Yeah, yeah. For those who shop online, Dr. Dennis, not sure if you're there. I recommend using a service like PayPal. I find it much safer than giving each website your information. When you go to PayPal or a site like PayPal, they would have your information and then they would pay on your behalf from the card. So they're the
Okay.
only ones who would have your info. Would you recommend that?
Yes, I definitely would recommend that because you don't want when you get back your card, you'll see transaction on there that you don't know about. So when you
Yeah,
use something like PayPal, you definitely can trace and
yeah.
they can tell where this is coming from.
And I believe also the IT experts will tell you there when you go to certain websites, you can know if it's unsecured or secured.
Yes.
Um, what message would we see? Is there something we look for?
Sometimes a message pop up that this site is not secured.
Yeah,
Away from that, I'm not sure how could you tell if it is secure or not. But sometimes you definitely see the message pop up that this site is not secure.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we have learned a lot tonight, folks.
Let me add to that as well. That
Yes.
especially when you are using a URL or so, you will
Hmm.
normally see the HTTP something.
PS,
Uh,
HTTPS,
H,
comma, semicolon,
yes,
forward, two forward slash. Yeah.
yes. And so if you don't see that S on it, it is an
Yeah.
indication that it is not a secured link.
Oh, okay, okay. I noticed that everybody stop using the www dot. They start using that HTTPS
Yes, yes, because it's going to
colon.
search.
Okay, okay. So that's something to look forward to, folks. And just keep your websites to a minimum. Amazon is a very safe website so far. Be careful of shopping on all of these new sites and storing your information, and be careful of entering your information. Google now has a way of prompting you to store your information. You have to be careful if you're using a public device, computer, how you allow Google to store your password and your username. All right, so you have to opt out of that. Be careful of these apps that you download on your phone, your banking apps, and all of that stuff. And then you just leave your phone wide open. Make sure you have a fingerprint lock on your phone. Your phone can lock, all your transactions now. So that's a very important thing. So I want to thank Constable O'Shea Whyte, and I thank Lecturer Lincoln Dennis. I want to thank Dr. Patroy Jones, and of course Sergeant Clausil Clarke, tactical specialist. And these men are available for future programs that Heart to Heart would have. And so I want to thank them for coming in. I want to thank you on Facebook and YouTube. And we know that the conversation will continue on safety at Christmas. And of course, we didn't even pull in the fire brigade. You know, it just dropped in my mind. Safety at Christmas should also involve your electricals. You know, how you plug in those trees. You have to be careful. I don't know if you keep on your Christmas tree all night. I mean, I would advise you plug it out and in the morning you plug it back in, because at night you never know, something might overheat. You have to be careful about those pepper lights. Don't buy the cheap ones, buy the good grade wires, because sometimes those wires overheat and your house can burn down. A whole lot of homes burn down in the Christmas time. So just think of safety as a way of life, a new way of thinking, and approach it in everything that you do. When you're passing the dogs, if you're going to pass a yard with pit bulls, think about it. What am I going to do before I reach that gate if dogs rush me? What do I have on my person that can help me? All right. So be careful and God bless you. Thank you, gentlemen, for
God
coming
bless
in.
you too.
And yes, sir. And we'll play a little music, Christmas music, as we go off the air. God bless you in Jesus' name.